This is one of the most controversial paintings in the Kansas State Capitol. It is depicting John Brown that people saw as a hero, but also as a villain. Who is John Brown and why is he in the state capitol?
So John Brown is one of the most famous abolitionists that's ever lived. He's a very complicated individual and very misunderstood. To understand Brown, you have to understand his religion.
Right.
So John Brown was a hardcore Calvinist. He believed in a God of the Old Testament that directly intervened in human life. John Brown believed that he was personally selected by God to bring in destruction and end to slavery.
Oh, wow.
So he saw himself as a warrior of the Old Testament.
So he felt like he had divine will to bring
Yeah.
an end to slavery.
Had you been wandering the corridors of the Capitol up into the late 1930s, you would have seen no artwork on the walls. They wanted to change that. So they hired an artist by the name of John Stuart Curry. Mr. Curry's critics would walk by saying that John looked a little bit more like Moses parting the Red Sea. At his feet, dead soldiers from that war representing the 1.2 million men that lost their life or were injured during the war. Next on the critics list, the open Bible in his left hand with the Greek letters Alpha and Omega. That means the beginning and the end, along with the bloodshed that he shows on John's wrist. In his right hand is a carbine rifle. Tornado and fire were next on the critics list. They wanted to know why he was showing so much destruction and violence. He would explain to his critics that he used those items to show the turmoil that led up to the Civil War.
This interactive digs into who John Brown was, because this is not the guy that we always think of. That is the bearded man, especially the crazed holding a gun and a Bible in his hands, but really almost his whole life, that's what John Brown looked like. And then you have Brown as a martyr, kissing the head of an enslaved child as he makes his way to the gallows. And that didn't happen.
That was part of the myth.
But this was reprinted all over the United States, and then in just a couple years, you have Civil War soldiers marching to John Brown's body. Here we see a pike. John Brown commissioned almost 1,000 of these pikes, and this was another thing that made people think that he was crazy, because it's like, why would you raid a federal arsenal with a bunch of medieval weaponry? But his kind of take on this was how many enslaved people at the time had ever held a gun, let alone fired one, but any man, woman, and child can hold a piece of wood with a pointy end.
Do you think John Brown was a hero or was he a villain? Or was he more of an anti-hero who did things for a good cause, but in a very ugly way? Stay curious, my friends.